7 times, went to 10. He's on some beach, so maybe Kirk could win.
Wait, you can really sing?
Yeah. Since he's been gone.
Wait, hold on. First of all, you can really sing. What?
Welcome back to a very musical edition of the Enough Said program. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Guard and Lori Fisher, who absolutely loves Super Bowl weekend. Don't you, Lori?
We kept that music going.
We get to celebrate it with, because you're very musical, and so we get to start with not the game so much as the spectacle.
Who knew?
And Kirk Cousins making
Well, everybody knew. Everybody, you got to follow my guy Cousins. He was a beautiful singer.
You knew he was musical?
He'd be fun to go out with on a Friday
There's
night.
a good video. We could probably find it by the end of the show. His 9th grade musical or something where he's like a cowboy wearing a hat. The voice of an angel, Kirk Cousins. The voice of an angel.
Apparently so.
What else can he do? I mean, what a star.
Well, here's the thing. If it'll make him not throw short of the sticks on 4th and long, I'm all for it. I know that those of you who want Kirk Cousins to be their guy.
Well-rounded.
They want to grab this like, see, he's less robotic than you think. Aaron Rodgers would never do this, which by the way is true. Aaron Rodgers takes himself too seriously to do what number 8 did. I'll grant you that point. But it's the continuing rehabilitation effort on Kirk being the guy, a great guy and a fun guy, and he's our quarterback. Is it ever? You know when it's going to end for me? I'll accept it. When we get to the NFC title game and we do something about it with Kirk Cousins. How about then?
Then you'll be fine with him singing as much as possible.
I will admit, his voice wasn't bad.
Oh yeah, it's solid. It's workable.
He blew one of the lines, one of the things he was supposed to say, but that's okay.
Well, he's never been good off script. We do know that. I'll take that cheap shot, even though I'm part of Cousins' condos. Yeah. And we can all flex because Justin Jefferson is the Offensive Player of the Year, right? That's the other exciting part, or I guess the validation that we're looking for, as we are not really part of these proceedings. Yeah. We're all annoyed, at least I am, that your guy, Brian Daboll, is the NFL Coach of the Year. I still think that is absolutely preposterous. I'm not saying Kevin O'Connell should have won, but what about the guy coaching this weekend, Nick Sirianni? Number 1 seed there, and I know it's not about the postseason, but Daboll getting 9 wins, that's absurd that he should be Coach of the Year. I'm sorry.
Put it this way.
I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, but it's absurd.
I'm not. Well, it sounds like you are going to lose some sleep over it. I don't know that I would put Daboll at the top of the list. I'd put him ahead of your guy, though. I'd put him ahead of Kevin
That's
O'Connell.
fine. That's fine.
And because he has, you have to factor in where the Giants' culture, there, I can even use the word, has been. They're a mess. They've been an utter and complete failure and mess, and he has stabilized them to a place that I think they're now a recognizable professional football operation. The Jefferson news is not totally surprising. Right. I think a lot of people thought for Player of the Year he was going to get it. Now, the MVP was always going to be a tougher reach, and I firmly believed he was in that. And if he'd finished as strongly as he started, I think there was a chance some people were going to be bored enough with always picking a quarterback that they might have done it. But he had that no-show game against, was it Green Bay?
Green Bay. Well, everybody did.
Everybody did. And I think that kind of stopped the momentum of it. But I have to admit, I woke up to see the video, watching the Cousins thing. I go, this is not something that would even be, I think, within his consideration several years ago. And I think it is his effort to try to say, what the heck? Let's have some fun.
Yeah, he's got the chains on.
Let's have a good time with it. What's it really hurt?
You think Zimmer watched it in Boulder with Deion Sanders? You think Mike Zimmer was watching it?
He probably was. I bet you he was grinning.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Next up, the Vikings hired Brian Flores to be their defensive coordinator. His resume includes the Patriots and Dolphins. That's the guy you two wanted, I believe. So everyone seems pretty happy with the choice, Dan.
Well, I think people are happy. The Broncos guy, whose name I can never pronounce, apparently they wanted, but then never had a chance to interview. I think Flores was always pretty high on the list. You mentioned Zimmer, Justin. It is kind of ironic because the word is, and I don't spend much, I don't know Flores at all, but based on what I've read and the people who have been around him say, he's got some Zim to him in terms of his style. So after Zim has been kind of rejected here as the Antichrist, the wrong approach, the wrong style, we bring in a coordinator to run the defense that basically is a lot more like Zimmer in terms of his approach than the previous, than certainly this head coach seems to prefer. Now, maybe this is the head coach, and it's to his credit if it is, saying, I can handle this.
Right.
Not everybody has to be like me. That's what I think the most mature coaches do, and that's always why I hated Zimmer was the devil on everything. Is that we oversimplify good, bad, evil, modern, prehistoric, and I think what we're learning again is that what the best coaches do is they bring people in who they think will be the prescription for a defense that's very sick, and this I think is a first good step. It can't be the only step, but it's a good first step.
Yeah, they need a personnel upgrade in a lot of spots. We talked about that, I think, immediately after the season, that just letting Ed Donatel go was not going to be what fixes this defense. They've got some issues, I think, at all three levels, but I agree with you that it's good to have different types of voices. Not everybody can be around the campfire, every 7 days a week. That's just not how it was. Not realistic. I think it shows good, strength on KOC's part to
30
say,
seconds.
I'm fine with that. The other thing too that's already happened is I don't know if other towns do this, but it strikes me as a Minnesota thing, Dan. We're already worried about losing Brian Flores 1 year from now. I don't even think he's been in the building officially as a Vikings coach, and people are already saying, well, he was a head coach. He wants to be a head coach. He's going to get interviewed to be a head coach. What if he's a head coach next year? Have some confidence in yourselves, Minnesotans. Like, that will be fine. If that's a problem in a year, I don't even think it's a problem, by the way. We shouldn't worry about that because, number one, defense might have gotten better. And number two, if your head coach and organization is worth anything, they're going to find the next guy as well. So I'm not preemptively worrying about losing Brian Flores a year from now. And I am glad with the attitude adjustment the defense needs that he's the guy in charge.
You want to hire good people.
Yeah.
And
you want people that other people want.
Then you probably are making the wrong decisions. He's got to get more out of three players, right? Daniil Hunter, who we assume is back.
Yep.
Kendricks, who I think is going to be back. And Harrison Smith, who I hope is going to be back.
Yep.
3 levels. He's got to get more out of each of those players. I think that's at least where it starts.
But can he sing?
I bet he can
good
sing.
Question. Probably
I
can.
bet he
So
can.
that video of Cousins is from the NFL honors ceremony. So it is Super Bowl weekend. The Chiefs and Eagles are playing.
Oh, there's a game?
There is a game, and
Okay.
I think you can see it right here on Fox 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that confirmed?
It is confirmed.
Pre-game starts right after us,
10 a.m.
10 p.m. on Friday night.
Right, there you go.
Okay.
Some people watch for the game, some people watch for the ads, and some just want to get together and party. How and where are you guys watching it, Justin?
We'll be watching it at our house with our neighbors. There will be 7 children under the age of 9.
Good luck.
So we really won't be watching it. To answer your question, we will not be watching it. We'll be locked in on the halftime show. That's good tradition. Rihanna's going to be there. The game itself, it's going to be a tough watch because you know my feelings towards all Philadelphians. And I do mean all Philadelphians. Not good people, deserve nothing that they're getting this weekend. There are no football gods because fans that treat other fans so poorly should not be rewarded like this, and yet I think they're going to be because they've got a great coach. They've got an outstanding quarterback who, when we watched the Super Bowl here, Dan, with Tom Brady, what I think stood out to both of us, I know we talked about it, was just like the pace and the rhythm. When you watch in person how Brady kind of handled his business, that's what Jalen Hurts does a little bit. It's just he can run, he can pass. It's at their own little tempo offensively, and he's answered, I think, every question that anybody's had about him. Now he's got to go up against Mahomes, and obviously Andy Reid has been here, and they've got the experience in this deal. But I think Philadelphia is going to win Sunday, mostly because I think that Eagles offense with all their weapons and a quarterback who's in complete control of everything with a great offensive line, I think they're going to do it.
32-6 are the combined records of these two teams.
Yeah.
So these are heavyweight teams. That part's fun. I think, oddly enough, Super Bowl week has been quiet in part because of a story we're going to get to later. The NBA trade deadline was absurd, and it, I think, took some of the steam out of it, with the usual attention that the entire week gets.
Including in Phoenix, where the Super Bowl is,
exactly.
right?
Because all the
with
media
Durant.
outlets that are there, they end up talking about where Durant going to Phoenix, the Kyrie situation as well.
30.
It's a worthy matchup for sure. I may regret it, but I'm going to still defer to Mahomes. To me, everything you said is true, and everything you said is accurate about the Eagles. I think the Eagles are an all-around better team.
Right.
But Mahomes continues to be one of those wild card guys who can still make, without great wide receivers at this point, obviously an all-world tight end,
right,
3 or 4 plays that you go, we thought we were ready for that. We thought we'd planned for that. And I'm still leaning his way, and the head coach, Andy Reid, is a really outstanding game planner. So I think it should be a good ball game. We've talked about this before. In my very young years, everybody watched the Ed Sullivan Show, the variety series on TV. This is the closest thing we have to the Ed Sullivan Show now. In a much more fragmented media market, where there's a million channels, this is the one thing, whether you care about the game or not, that people will continue to watch. It's the
Are you
only
watching
one
it
we
at
can
home,
count.
Dan, on your
I am
big
watching
screen
it.
TV?
You kidding me? In front of the Barca. Nobody else around because I want to focus.
You don't want to come
Unlike
over
you,
with the 7 kids?
Oh, right, we could all come over.
I'm about the
We've
game.
said that before. We've joked about it.
You're about the spectacle. I'm about.
I can't wait for the halftime show.
Very proud of you, Lori, by the way, for not focusing on Mrs. Kelsey, the mom.
I'm
sure you wanted to.
Okay.
Don't give her the opening.
No.
I knew she wanted to. Travis and
listened
Jason.
to one of the press conference from the Eagles, Kelsey, and he's like, can we just stop talking? This isn't the only storyline out there. The brothers playing against each other.
Well, how's
This is a hell of a storyline. It's unprecedented.
It's
I mean,
unbelievable.
I would be so proud.
But now I see the mom on TV. She's plugging Bud Light now. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Hey, now's the time.
Yeah.
Ride that wave.
Yeah, you got the mom plugging beer. What a country.
You mentioned the NBA. Ahead of the deadline, we learned D'Angelo Russell is going to the Lakers in a 3-team, 8-player trade. The Wolves are getting guards Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Russell's no stranger to the Lakers, being drafted by them in 2015. Good deal, Dan.
Well, it's a complicated deal, and we could do probably 30 minutes on the deal itself. I think it was a necessary deal for a lot of reasons. It included the sort of boring issue of saving a contract slot worth $20 million that would disappear from the team having control of if they just let D'Angelo Russell walk. D'Angelo Russell is a very good scorer when he's going good. He is a terrible leader. He is an awful defensive player. And behind the scenes, I think there's always been this. 2 coaches have had similar frustrations with him, as talented as he can be. They get in return an older player. That's the downside.
Right.
A more injured player. That's another downside. But a quarterback. They got a guy who can run an offense, who doesn't demand the ball or need the ball as much, and who, at the end of games, if the team does get in the playoffs, you'd like to think, would eliminate the meltdowns that really prevented the Wolves from moving out of the first round last year. That's the goal here. That's why I understand exactly why the Wolves made this move.
Yeah, D'Angelo, I think, did a good job of getting the Wolves where they were last year, where they are. He was helpful in that regard. But to go any further, they needed somebody else. I think that's fair to say. And I like D'Lo more than you like D'Lo. I was mesmerized by the shooting display.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized by the passing from time to time. But it was pretty clear that once they decided it's not going to be workable here long term, because D'Lo's good enough where he's going to command a decent amount of money. Wolves didn't want to commit that to him, right? And I understand that. So once you learn that, once you figure that out, which I'm guessing.
They already have 2 max players.
Yeah.
The issue.
And I'm guessing that didn't take very long to make that
Ant's gonna have to
determination.
be paid. Yeah.
For sure. You move them. You bring in, as we've said, kind of a grown-up in the room. And I thought it was interesting what Conley said last night after the deal, or on Thursday night, that we want to surround Anthony with as many adults as we can. Because going back to the Gobert trade, we talked about that this was the window with Towns and everything. There's going to be another window with Ant, we think, after. And they want to make sure he's in lockstep and a true pro by the time that thing starts.
Look,
so to me, is another example of just turning it over to him.
Well, let me say real quick, Rudy is not a perfect player. Rudy has not played great here. But when I hear stories from our guy John Krasinski that D'Lo's on the court bad-mouthing Rudy to other players, what bugs me about that is if D'Lo was the perfect player, I might get it.
Right.
But if you want to get into this fancy analytics, D'Lo's having his best shooting season ever, and he's still a net minus player. Rudy Gobert is not.
Right.
Rudy Gobert is like 50 players ahead of him, and that's what bugs me about giving this much authority to a guy who doesn't seem very self-aware about his own flaws.
Good can be on next Friday, so we can dig even deeper into this.
What a tease.
Real quick, there were other trades as well. Kevin Durant to Phoenix, Kyrie Irving to Dallas. Does this make it even tougher for the Wolves to get to where they want to be, Dan?
That's the depressing part.
Yes, enough said.
It's depressing because there's at least, the Lakers definitely got better, by the way, with ex-Wolves players because Russell can help them.
It's Wolves West.
No question. The Clippers, I think, got better. The Mavericks got better in the short run. Whether they can have the 2 superstars share the ball long term, it's irrelevant to this season. I think Denver got better. There's like a minimum of 4 and Phoenix, obviously, with Durant. So that's the daunting part of this, Justin, is that the job definitely got tougher to make a run even once Cat gets back, if he ever indeed gets back into the lineup.
Which is why you have to make splashy moves like they did with Rudy Gobert in the summer, which is why you have to kind of tinker and keep your max contract spot. Like the West, it's going to be tough for the next few years, like it was in the KG era. And we saw back then how hard it was to get other good players to come here. I think that informed a lot of why they made the big swing to bring Rudy Gobert. You have to keep pace with what's going on.
I'm not giving up on it. I don't think
Me
you
neither.
are either, but
Me neither.
a lot of people are.
Welcome back to Enough Said. The Wild having a rough week, losing to the Coyotes on Monday, the Stars on Wednesday, and then to the Knights on Thursday. They play the New Jersey Devils Saturday night at home. The Fishers are going.
Ooh.
We're going to try to see Nordy. I'm hoping that maybe we're the good luck charm. Try to end the week with a win.
Can
Dan?
you help 5-on-5 scoring? I mean, that might be the only way.
I wouldn't count on a lot of goals. I don't know. I think we're in the middle of a 7-game homestand.
Yeah, it just started last night.
Which started last night
on
poorly.
Thursday.
And a lot of folks think, well, that's going to tell the tale on what direction, how aggressive Bill Guerin is. Because I'm starting to get worried about that cliche, well, are we really one trade away from being viable? I don't know anymore. I know I harp on this. Some people think too much. And you're the great goaltending mind of the two of us, Justin. But I keep looking at every week I look at the stats. And I don't want to put all this on the Hall of Fame goalie Marc-Andre Fleury, but here are the two numbers. Do you know these? You might. Goals against in the league, Fleury is 31st.
Yep.
Save percentage, he's 31st. And I don't know that we can put all that on the D. I don't think the plan was we know we're not going to be able to score as much,
right.
So we're going to get better defensively. We did earlier in the season. Now we're slipping defensively, and I think some of it's what is happening in front of the goaltenders, but I think some of it is also what's happening with him in particular, even more than than Gustafsson. And meantime, we can't. The other stat last year, we had 9 multi-goal comebacks.
Right.
Now we're one of 2 teams this year with 0.
Right.
So there's no margin for error anymore, which means the defense does have to get better, or the goaltending's got to get a lot
Real quick,
better.
Justin.
Well, yeah, they said we're not going to score as much, but I don't think they anticipated they would score this little.
Yeah.
If that is grammatically correct. You mentioned the comebacks on the multi-goal deficits. Last year they had 25 games where they came back from deficits.
Any deficit, right?
Any deficit. That was kind of the calling card. Why? Because they had a bunch of big knockers, as we say on the radio. And this year they're ranked 28th in 5-on-5 scoring. And you've seen all these guys that either played well last year or you expected to play a little bit better. They haven't been up to par.
Next up, President Biden gave his annual State of the Union address. He spent the night highlighting the economy's bounce back from the pandemic, renewing calls for police reform, and vowed to work with Republicans to find common ground. Dan, quickly, what stood out to you?
Well, I didn't watch it live, but I have watched highlights and lowlights. And I've sadly, I think, come to the conclusion that a few other people have, that it might be time to give up the ghost about tradition. By that, I mean, let's go to the British form, which is
the House of Commons.
When the big shot, when the Prime Minister speaks, he gets booed, they hoot, they holler, they guffaw. And by the way, I also would not mind, it was Romney and the fraud, George Santos.
Yeah.
Let's have them have a duel.
Yeah.
Let's take it. It's almost like I've gone from being outraged by the lack of civility to
the lack of decorum.
Let's not even bother with decorum, because in all honesty, I think Biden's best moments might have been when he was kind of going back and forth off script with the Republicans. So maybe it's just time for us to say, maybe the Brits have a better idea.
Yeah, well, on the stuff about Social Security and Medicare, I mean, what a bait that was. He brings it up, he gets heckled. And then he says, well, it seems like everybody's on board. Those things are off the table. Cool. Close the book and we'll move on. Yeah, I agree with you on the lack of decorum is annoying, but it's never going back, though. No. I mean, we even talked about it. It was one of the states of the union, I think, when Nancy Pelosi very loudly ripped the speech up.
After he handed it to her.
Ridiculous as well. Yeah. But that is sadly why we are where we are. 72 minutes for the old guy, though.
That's what it was?
I mean, yes, he's saying, hey, I've got enough in me to run in 2024. 2024. Finish the job. That's going to be the new banner, by the way. That's the 2024 headline.
I think he thinks he's going to run. We'll see.
Yes.
Laura, I need to correct. She didn't. The Pelosi didn't tear it up till after the speech was given. It had already been handed
Thank
to.
you
So
for
I
the
don't
correction.
want. Otherwise, you're going to get emails. I'm going to get emails.
I appreciate that. The current Hornet mascot logo stays. Justin, Edina School District and the artist from years ago reached a settlement.
This is
the
a follow-up.
Private. Real quick, your thoughts. Are you feeling relieved?
Not really. I've gotten accustomed. I've kind of cut the cord, unlike most people that grow up in Edina, who still eat, sleep, and breathe everything Edina Hornets. And I love my school. I'm glad I grew up there. But there's times where Edina gets a bad rap, as you know, and they're only in the headlines because it's Edina and people will click on it. This was absurd on all levels. But hey, the logo's back. Everybody's excited. So bring out the Hornet logos if you got them.
Is it an impressive logo? I mean,
it's cool.
Is it a fearsome-looking Hornet?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks all right. I've gotten kind of used to the blocky.
Enough said.
I like that too.
Take your word for it.
It's cool.
We are going to rip through the lightning round. LeBron James broke the NBA all-time scoring record on Tuesday, 38,387 points, Dan.
Remarkable achievement, there's no question. Oddly, then in the fourth quarter, he scored 2 points. His team lost the game it needed, and then they had another celebration pregame, and then he sat the next game, and they lost that one.
Yeah.
So the Lakers are still a mess, even if they're better with the trades, perhaps. But
Next up.
a hell of a run for LeBron.
It was a cool moment.
Yeah.
And I like what Kareem said, by the way. Am I mad? No. He goes, I won $1 billion, 30 years ago. This guy just won 2. I'm happy for both of us.
I'll still take Michael.
Good attitude. Former Viking
agree.
Jared Allen curling team beat a team led by Olympic gold medalist John Schuster. Justin.
He has, I'm not going to diminish the calf roper. By the way, he was omitted from the Hall of Fame this week, which I don't understand. That's
bitterness there.
Hopefully this is a nice distraction. I give him credit for, this is much further than your guy Herschel Walker.
the battling bobsledder?
More commitment than he showed way back in the day. He's looped in with a good team that includes a couple of former Olympians. So good for Jared. Good for Jared.
I'm actually surprised
Congrats.
more athletes who are done with their regular careers don't do this because they like the competition.
Well, that's it.
You know what I'm saying? You
Next
think
up.
like more would try it.
The first State Fair Grandstand concert was announced. Duran. They'll be performing on Thursday, August 31st. Tickets go on sale next Thursday. I know you guys will be out there every day, so you'll have a chance to go if you want.
Will you be hungry like a wolf?
With a view
Lauren?
to a kill.
Yeah, figured that you probably would.
I made my first grandstand concert appearance this last State Fair. I don't think Duran's going to be my second.
Oh, come on.
I don't think Duran.
I will say this. I usually mock Lori when she wants to talk State Fair this early, but it is a welcome respite.
I agree.
From this
I'm ready to think about it.
I think it's fun.
Winter for sure.
Yes.
I'm ready to think about it.
This is fun. Tom Brady put it all out there with his latest social media
Calm
selfie.
down, Lori.
You going to show the photo?
He said if
Calm down.
no, I can't show it.
You can't show the why?
He said if a Brady brand tweet got 40,000 likes, he'd model the underwear himself.
There it is.
Perfect timing though for his movie 80 for Brady with all the Sally Field and Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
Is that how much airbrushing do you think was done on that?
None.
Photo?
And this is. I
don't know. I think there was some airbrushing.
This is just a lot of stretching.
There
and
might have been
hydration.
some enhancement
It's TB12
going on in that photo.
And the bar has been raised for Kirk Cousins.
And
we
finally,
opened the show with Kirk singing "This Is Next," Kirko.
Oh, and they did put that photo up at the honor ceremony. And
Yes,
Dan won't have to buy an entire box of mugs because the Enough Said mugs are selling like hotcakes. Although everyone said that I'm buying them for my family, but we sold out our first wave. You can place your order now. $12 plus shipping and handling.
Look at that nice graphic.
I know, isn't that in limited availability? I mean, you can get them. Again, we just say that, I say that because it's like, oh, we got to get those.
I might auction off this one that I'm using. It's a show-worn Enough Said mug.
And each of us get $1 off of every sale. Is that right? Is that true?
Questionable.
You might.
I
could see you getting it.
No.
All
right. Yeah.
They are purely just for people to enjoy.
They're nice. They're handsome. Good size too.
Bill Richardson. I brought up the Richardsons. The father-son. The grandpa ordered 3 this week. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Enough said.
Thank you.
Keep ordering because they may run out because they are limited
availability.
Yeah.